in Missouri, singing, and he was, I think, doing, sort of Blues Brothers type of stuff. Anyway, he became the new Bobby Hatfield there at the Kauffman Center. He's about 80 years old, and they're sort of on a a retirement tour, but he's got so many commitments from over the years from people who still want him to go perform as the Righteous Brothers and the songs. And what he said was interesting to me. He said, when Bobby was alive, they used to come and see us sing. Now they come to hear the songs, which is an interesting way to put it. And I thought that was a very humble and interesting quote from him.
So we were talking about Burton Cummings. He's 76. And yes, I saw him at Knuckleheads. And I'm so bad at trying to gauge how long ago something was that I'm not even going to try. Because I could say, it was like 5 years ago and it was 12. So it's probably within that range. But because I loved the Guess Who growing up. I loved his solo career. I grew up on the Canadian border. So there was a lot of the Canadian rock bands, including Guess Who and including him were on Canadian radio. And Guess Who was just a solid hit making band. And his voice was so integral to their sound. But when I saw him, it was fantastic. Like, it was probably 10 years ago. Oh, that's a safe bet. But he, and I think he's one of those, like we were talking, has an elite voice that maybe is underappreciated. But to go back to your Righteous Brothers, like, I remember Frankie Valli came to Kauffman Center not too long ago, within the last year. And I thought about that, but I'm like, oh man, I've been to a couple of those shows where, it's like one tour too many. And, but I heard great things about it. And like you just said, what people are embracing is their memories of the song, which maybe it's not quite as good as what they're hearing live, but it doesn't matter. Because, that's the great thing about music. It just arouses the best memories of people and times and places. And so I completely get that. And the Righteous Brothers were in their own little place with that whole, soul music. Those songs are amazing. And another group that I think that was in Top Gun, right? One of those songs.
Yes.
So just another time where a new generation was introduced to them, and it's like, there was so much great music before you were born.
Absolutely the case. I'm sure I'll get a sense of that when I head to my high school reunion here in a few days, and they'll be playing the hits from back when we were in high school, and people will be bad white person dancing out there, I'm sure. So anyway, that will be fun, and that will be great memories. Also, speaking of not quitting, the boss says he ain't doing it. More boss and more notes coming up next. It's Arts and Lifestyle Wednesday, presented by Cinematic Visions, and another edition of Danny and Tim's Music Scene.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
It's always a pleasure to catch up with Dr. Brad Woodall from Advanced Sports and Family Chiropractic and Acupuncture, 8 locations all around Kansas City, the latest in Raytown. Pick out the one that's most convenient for you and pick it out this fall. If you've got a young athlete who needs a little bit of treatment or tender, loving care, injuries can happen, little strains can happen, and Dr. Woodall, you can help them out.
We take care of athletes both in prevention and in those injuries. Things happen, but the most exciting thing is we can take care of almost anything that deals with bones, muscles, joints. Whether it's a sprain, strain, or a concussion, we can take care of that athlete.
That you can at all the locations around Kansas City, and you can get that treatment, your own treatment, all the treatments you want to make you feel better, body, mind, and spirit at Advanced Sports and Family Chiropractic and Acupuncture. Visit asfca.com/Danny. That's asfca.com/Danny.
Enjoy all the excitement of football season at the 23rd Street Brewery. From the Jayhawks and college football to the NFL and even live-streamed Lawrence High and Free State football games, you can watch it all at the 23rd Street Brewery. Enjoy the games with your favorite menu item like the Bill Self Mac and Cheese, Naked Nachos, or the Haney Turkey Stack. And wash it all down with your favorite beer like a Wave the Wheat or Crimson Fog. 23rd Street Brewery on the corner of Clinton Parkway and Castle in Lawrence.
If you'd like to join these and other fine sponsors and market your business on Kansas City's #1 rated podcast, contact us at Danny@DannyKlinkscale.com. Look forward to working with you.
Welcome back. Let's talk about somebody who's not quietly going into the good night. That is Bruce Springsteen. He's got tons of projects going, and another one for him is the release next month on Hulu of a documentary called Road Diary, and it'll be, I guess, kind of a standard documentary of backstage stuff and supposedly insider things about the most recent tour. And in conjunction with this, he says, I'm going to go till the wheels drop. And I guess that's happy for his fans, and he'll probably eat this up. Bruce doesn't want us, it's sort of, Bob Dylan's been around for forever, for instance, but he kind of goes away for a while and then he comes back, and Bruce doesn't do that.
No, he doesn't. Salute to him. Bravo. But so I'm going to preface what I'm going to say with this. I was introduced to him right around the time that Born to Run came around. So I can't remember when my brother bought all those records, but I heard the E Street Shuffle record. Mm-hmm. I think I heard it first, but it was, at the same time maybe as Born to Run, and I just loved that stuff. And I was a huge Springsteen fan. And then, Darkness, and then came out, and then it was he was one of my favorite people in music. I had never seen him. I didn't see him until the year 2000, just because I was never in a place to see him. So, and every time I've seen him, it's been electric, some more than others. But he is what everyone loves him for, especially in concert. But he's been close to billionaire superstar longer than he's been what I knew him for. So, yes, I love him to death. I think he's a great person. His philosophy of life seems to jive with mine. So, but that's like, what don't I already know about you?
Exactly. Right. So, but hey, there you go. Information for you. Road Diary will be out on October 25th. There's going to be a big ABC interview with George Stephanopoulos before that. So if you can't if you can't get you enough Bruce, you can get that. Well, it was YouTube deep dive rabbit hole time last night for my wife and I, and we watched several very old, like way back before they were famous almost, Moody Blues things. I don't think we've ever talked about the Moody Blues on this particular podcast. They put out strings of hits in the late 60s and early 70s, went away for a while, then came back in around 1980. They had another run, beautiful singing. Justin Hayward, who in this first video we watched last night, looked to be too shy to be even up on stage to sing. He was in the background, and he eventually became part of the front part of the band, not the back part of the band. And actually, the absolute, total frontman, singular frontman, was Ray Thomas in this particular bit. So it's kind of interesting to see that. They wove their way through psychedelia. The song "I'm Just a Singer in a Rock and Roll Band" was a reaction to the fact that fans thought they were spiritual leaders. It was an interesting ride for the Moody Blues, who I thought made great music consistently.
Oh, they did. I heard them. They were imposed on me by radio growing up, and I just loved the harmonies, the melodies. There was just instantly a groove to fall into, and so I listened to them. But as just a little side note, I remember Nights in White Satin. Whatever grade I was in when I heard that, and that poem at the end, I knew, even as young as I was, that poem was just trash.
Well, they walked a fine line often between absolute pretension and good music. Right. There's no question about that.
Right. Because we used to just rip on it and just say whatever. And I mean, I was in junior high.
How deep and dark, the gloomy...
yeah. The gathering moons, blah, blah, blah. It's just, it looks like a Stuart Smiley or something.
Right.
Like that,
Rod McEwen or something.
Yeah, exactly. But, man, their best songs back then were are still good. They're still. I have the greatest hits record from the day I bought it, so it's pretty beat up.
Right.
But even that album they put out like in '81 or so, there's really good songs. They could write a groove,
Right.
and they could throw down the harmonies. And for me, you know, if you do that, you're going to get at least a B. So,
Right. And also,
no,
I mean, a song like "The Story in Your Eyes" has a blistering guitar solo in it. I mean, it's,
yeah.
Really,
that song is probably my favorite of theirs. Yes.
So-
I mean, how can you not? It's doing so much. It's like a roller coaster ride, and
right.
yeah, for sure. Now I saw them at the Midland again too many years ago that I don't want to even try to calculate. But when they heard those songs, whatever lineup there was, they were recreating them perfectly. Yeah, and those are just rock solid, good,
Right.
good songwriting, good production.
Right. We've talked a lot about voices on this edition, and sharing the same birthday, which was fairly recently, are two artists who maybe people who are into astrology or something would say there should be a connection between Leonard Cohen and Nick Cave, two sort of off the beaten path type of singers who maybe don't even qualify as good singers, but are interesting and wonderful interpreters of song, I guess would be the best way to put it, each in their own very different way.
Yes. So I've seen them both at the same venue at the Midland, and there wasn't too many years, whatever it's called now, apart. And I was introduced to Leonard Cohen by one of my older siblings or cousins, and he is someone, like, when I would put him on in the car, when my kids were in the car, they would like open the window and pretend to throw up, like, yeah, God, Dad, no, not this. And it was because he's very deep voice. He's writing his poetry,
Yes.
much better than the Moody Blues poetry.
Or Rod
but
McEwen, right.
Or Rod McEwen, yeah, for sure. But I just fell into it, and when I was getting into Randy Newman and all this like sad, lamenting songwriting. I don't know. I was melancholy as a kid. That music spoke to me. So Nick Cave comes from a different place, and I was sort of led to him by people who adored him. And like I was telling you before, I've tried to just embrace it. I haven't fully. I saw him at the Midland. It was just a show like I've never seen a show like this. He's very riveting but it was like watching theater. I didn't feel like it was as much a musical performance as it was a theatrical performance.
Right.
But so I respect him immeasurably. He's got a new record coming out. He's coming to the Midland again, I think. So, and like I was telling you, the people whose tastes and perspectives I admire the most adore him. And but it's the same way I adore Leonard Cohen. So for me, it's just like there are some things that I just can't get. It's like I can't get science fiction, even really good science fiction I can appreciate, but it's like
I'm with you there. And I was a melancholy kid too,
right.
So we got a lot in common there, bud.
I feel like I'm on the outside looking in and then go, wow, people love this. Okay, I get it. I don't know. I'd rather watch a true crime documentary, but sure. So it's but Nick Cave is huge. Nick Cave is responding to one of the worst, tragedies anyone could suffer. His child he loved dearly was like climbing or something and fell, and he was 22. So he's emerging from that. So I'm sure that whatever he's going to put out, I will read the lyrics. I will listen. But he is like a lot of musicians call themselves artists. He is an artist. He is not just a musician writing lyrics to fill a song. He's like, it's coming from within. And that's what I appreciate about him.
And in a similar vein, on the same day, September 19th, two great albums were born. One 54 years old, that is after the Gold Rush, and one which is 25 years later, so it's still fairly old, and that would be Son Volt's original album, their first album, Trace. And those are two albums that have a deep affection for you.
Yes. I mean, after the Gold Rush was Neil Young's third record, and it has like some of his, he does a cover of "Oh Lonesome Me" and Only Love Can Break Your Heart is on there, and When You Dance I Can Really Love, and Sugar Mountain. But the title track is the one that slays me. And I saw Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young at Kemp